Hello, everyone. Happy Monday night. Happy Monday Night Football. Thanks for tuning in and joining us this evening. We're going to wait just a minute as people gather. We just went live. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. This is Phoebe, by the way. She says hello. She's getting some pre-stream scratches. Maybe. Yeah. Nope. Hello. Let's see, how are we doing on viewership? All right, we got a couple people tuning in. We'll probably go ahead and get things started then. Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome. My name is Patrick Hess. I'm the Planetarium Manager at Union Station, and welcome to our monthly live stream. If you're tuning in for the first time, tonight we're going to be doing a little star tour. I'm going to be showing you what you'll be able to see in our evening skies this month. Stars and constellations, things like that. And if you're a returning watcher, welcome back. So glad to have you again. I'd like to also thank our supporting sponsor, MRI Global, for supporting programs like this and others at Union Station. Welcome again to our 76th live stream. If you are a first-time watcher, all of our live streams are available on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/kcplanetarium, where you'll find all of our past streams. So if you've missed any of those previous shows and deep dives into all sorts of topics, we've covered over 40 different topics all about space and astronomy. We've done a whole solar system tour, stopping by every single planet, asteroid, comet, dwarf planet, you name it. Yes, we did a stream for Pluto as well. And we did a couple of fictional live streams where I covered the science and astronomy science of the movies, Hollywood television shows as well. So check all those out again, youtube.com/kcplanetarium. By the way, this is a live stream, so if you're watching tonight, that is November 11th, 2021, then let us know that you're watching in the comments section. Say hello, let us know where you're watching from. It's always fun to hear where you're watching from. And we will give you a shout out. We've got a couple people chiming in already. We've got Gino, who's a first-time watcher. Gino, thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed tonight's Star Tour, as well as current event updates after the Star Tour. By the way, I should have mentioned we are going to be going over current events or space and astronomy news that happened over the past month. Larry's also saying, thanks for doing this. Well, thank you for being here, Larry. Hope you enjoy tonight's stream. We've also got Katie, who's watching from Lenexa. Katie, thanks so much for joining us. Phoebe's very excited. You can see her little crest popping up there. Ooh, let's see how long Phoebe lasts at the beginning of this stream. All right, keep the comments coming, folks. Just a couple little housekeeping notes. Again, I am the Planetarium Manager at the Gottlieb Planetarium at Union Station. And by the way, the planetarium is open right now 6 days a week. That's Tuesday through Sunday. We also released our upcoming holiday schedule, which is going to feature Laser Holiday Magic, our fan favorite holiday musical set to spectacular laser lights, as well as a new edition of our Star Tour, Sky Station Live, where this winter we'll be featuring Stars of Faith. So we're going to be talking about various different religions and cultures and how they see the night sky. We'll be talking about the Star of Bethlehem, of course, but also touching on Islam and Judaism and many other world religions and how they relate to the night sky as well. So tickets are available now for that. That'll be starting on November 20th, that winter schedule. And in the meantime, our regular Star Tour, of course, is still available. And we're going to start tonight's live stream with our November night sky tour. Just a couple more comments I'm seeing coming in. Gino says, hello from Belgium, and Gino loves us. Well, wow, Gino, thanks so much for tuning in. What time is it over there? I hope it's not too late or too early, and if it is, then thanks so much for being with us at this whatever hour it is. That's amazing. It's always fun to see people watching from all over the world. Heather is watching, a former Missourian, now living in Iowa. Well, thanks so much, Heather. Glad to have you join us. And I hope you'll be supporting our Kansas City Chiefs at the end of this stream as well. We've got Emily watching from Forest, Virginia. Awesome, Emily. Thanks for being here. And Dee Dee, who's watching from the Plaza. I recognize that name. I think that's one of our returning watchers. All right, everyone, keep the comments and questions coming, of course. But we're going to swap on over to our software here for our virtual planetarium. This is Stellarium, which is available on PC and Mac. And we can see our beautiful Kansas City skyline here with the sunset setting in the west. Now that it is approaching winter, the sun is setting pretty early. We've passed the fall equinox, which is the date when The daytime and nighttime are the same length. That was at the end of September. So now nights are longer than days and the sun sets very early. Of course, the Liberty Memorial right behind us as well. And Union Station there with the planetarium just peeking out above the skyline. So we are going to look at our night sky in a minute, but the Liberty Memorial is very beautiful, but it does block some of our view. So I'm going to switch to lower horizon. It's just lovely forest scene. And we're going to fast forward time a little bit and get that sun to set a little bit more. And I'm actually going to pause right at the point of sunset in just a moment, because as the sun is setting, and before you'll see most of the stars tonight, you will actually see a very bright point of light over in the southwest. So bright, you'll even see it, like you can see here, in the daytime sky, shining brightly there. You will also notice later in the evening when the stars come up that this point of light does not twinkle, unlike the stars that do twinkle. And that's because this point of light is not a star, it is a planet. The planet Venus, you'll see here setting in the southwest. Right now we call Venus our evening star. It's not a star, but that's its nickname. It appears in the early evening, right around sunset. Sometimes it appears in the early morning, and we call it the morning star, but it'll always appear right in the morning or evening, but not in the middle of the night, because Venus is closer to the sun than the Earth, so it always appears close to the sun. Venus also appears in phases, and you can see right now Venus is about half full, which is pretty neat. It's very bright, but if you looked at it through a telescope, you'd see that half Venus phase. We can see it shining very brightly there in the southwest sky. We're going to continue fast forwarding. About an hour after sunset, we will get that twilight glow out of the way, and we'll see the stars coming out. Of course, we want the stars for our star tour. So here we go. This is our Midwest sky at about 7:30 p.m. And let's take a look around here. By the way, we've got one of our longtime watchers in the comments, Tammy, saying hello again from Iowa. Thanks for still doing these, Patrick. We have enjoyed every single one and have learned a lot. We'll be in KC this weekend. That's so awesome, Tammy. Well, if you're in KC, I hope you'll consider stopping by the planetarium. I'll be there on Sunday, by the way, if you wanted to swing by and catch one of my star tours. But that's so great. Glad you're visiting, and of course, always lovely to see you, Tammy. Another one of our longtime watchers, Eric, says howdy from Lenexa, and also says hello, Phoebe. That's right. He says hi, Phoebe. And Eric also says, what did William Shatner say about his space flight? I heard it was really good. Ooh, that's you're reading my mind, because I do have a little bit to share about William Shatner, Captain Kirk, who, spoiler alert, went to space recently. So thanks for bringing that up. And don't worry, I'm definitely going to touch on that because it's a pretty good quote. Kayla says, my 4-year-old son is wanting to know what kind of bird you have. Well, this is Phoebe, and Phoebe is a galah, or a rose-breasted cockatoo. She's from Australia. And she is about 1 year old, and right now she's being very chill, just kind of preening herself. So good job, Phoebe. All right, so let's jump into our star tour here. Let's start with the dippers. We've got the Big Dipper, looks like a big spoon, and the Little Dipper right above it. These two dippers are part of the constellations Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, which is the Big and Little Bear. Let's get the labels on there as well. These big bears we can see all seasons, actually. They'll just be in different places as they circle around the North Star. That's what I've highlighted there. The North Star stays in the same place all night, and the constellations and stars rotate around them. Ursa Major and Ursa Minor will always be up, but they'll just be rotating around at different points in the night and different points in the year. Now, I typically don't talk about the Ursa Bears very much, but I did want to touch on them a little bit tonight. So the big and little bears in Roman mythology were part of the story of Jupiter, who was their king of the gods. The story goes that Jupiter falls in love with a young woman named Callisto, who was the daughter of the king of Arcadia. Now Juno, Jupiter's jealous wife, discovered that Callisto had a son named Arcus and believes that it is Jupiter's child. So Juno transforms the beautiful Callisto into a bear, so she no longer attracts Jupiter. Callisto, while in bear form, later encounters her son Arcus. Arcus almost shoots the bear, but to avert the tragedy, Jupiter turns Arcus into a bear too and puts them both in the sky, forming Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. Now, in a lot of depictions, these bears have long tails, which in real life bears don't. In some stories, it's said that Jupiter threw them into the sky with such force that it stretched their tails out as he threw them up into the sky by holding their tails. And then some historians also think that they may have represented a different creature, like a raccoon, but it was just kind of sort of changed as a game of telephone was played between the translations and stories being passed down for generations. All right, Gino in the comments says, is a telescope, let's see, Gino says, asking about, looks like Gino's asking about a telescope. And that they're a normal person with a normal budget, maybe wondering to know how to get into telescopes. So I did a whole live stream actually about telescopes last year, youtube.com/KC Planetarium for our past streams. That live stream was on May 6th of last year, 2020, by the way. But the short story, Gino, is that if you want to get into astronomy, I'd actually recommend starting with a pair of binoculars. They're really easy to use. You just point them at what you want to look at, and they're much cheaper than telescopes and easier to set up. But with binoculars, you can see things like star clusters and the rings on Saturn and the moons of Jupiter and the moon in really great detail. So binoculars are, I would say, are the way to go on a budget to get into astronomy and stargazing. All right, so back to our star tour. Let's clear things out here, and we're going to move over to the western horizon. How are we doing on time? All right, we're doing well. So setting in the west tonight, you'll see 3 bright stars that form a nice big triangle. And this triangle will be, oops, I was pointing at the wrong stars. That's awkward. They're a little bit higher overhead here. So these 3 stars form a big triangle that is setting in the early evening sky in the west here in the fall. But in the summertime, this triangle could be seen high overhead for most of the season, and that's why it got its nickname, the Summer Triangle. Again, we can still see it in the fall and winter, but this triangle helps you to figure out when the seasons are changing based on its position after sunset. So in the spring, for example, these 3 stars are just starting to rise. In the summer, these 3 stars are up after sunset. In the fall, they're directly overhead after sunset, and in the winter, they're setting in the west after sunset. So these 3 stars are part of 3 different constellations. There's the constellation Cygnus the Swan here, which is a simple cross pattern, represents a disguise used by Zeus, the king of the Greek gods. There we go. We have the star Altair, which is the eye of an eagle constellation, Aquila. Aquila was one of Zeus's pets. And then we have the star Vega, which is part of Lyra, the harp, a little diamond in the sky that represents a harp played by Orpheus, a famous poet and prophet. And we're kind of scooting through here because there is a deep space object inside of Lyra I want to show you and highlight on today's stream. And this is going to be our little mini deep dive for this week. And it's between these 2 stars in the harp constellation. And as we zoom in here, we will find this object, which is called the Ring Nebula. So the Ring Nebula is a giant cloud of gas and dust about 1 light year across and about 6,000 years old. This nebula contains the remnants of a dead star. So deep inside this constellation, you will find the leftovers of a star that died very recently, about 6,000 years ago. So on tonight's stream, I just wanted to highlight a little bit about stellar evolution and what happens to stars as they age. So here's a cool chart showing just that. I'm going to hide myself here. We can see that stars will change and grow throughout their lives, and they'll their growth and their lifespans and what stages they go through differs based on or between how large they are. So we'll see here a chart here going on the left-hand y-axis here, showing the size of that star with smaller stars on the bottom and bigger stars on the top. We can see that small stars like our sun, when they get old, they first turn into a red giant, and then they will eventually turn into what's called a planetary nebula. So what happens is that these smaller stars like our sun, when they get old, they will expand and slowly spread their layers out, shedding them one by one like an onion until they leave behind these nebulas. Now, I also have another piece of software called Space Engine, which lets us explore these things in 3 dimensions. So this is the Ring Nebula, as I showed you earlier, but we can actually zoom around it here and see its 3-dimensional structure. So we can see here these red rings on the outside were the first layers, the outer layers of that star. As it died and started to shed its layers, those contain ionized hydrogen from the outer layers of that star. And then going inwards, we find heavier elements like oxygen, which is the blue color here. And then at the very center of these nebulas, you'll find a white dwarf, which is the leftovers of the core of that dead star. So if we go back to our chart here, you'll see that once the nebula dissipates, all that's left over is the white dwarf. Now, bigger stars will turn supernova and leave behind neutron stars, or sometimes even black holes. But our sun is not that big, and it won't go supernova. It also won't die for another 4 billion years, so we have a long time before we have to worry about that. But just wanted to show you and share with you a little bit of the life cycles of stars there. You'll see some protostars never quite get big enough to turn into stars. They become brown dwarfs, which are similar to Jupiter and Saturn, just a little bit bigger. So they kind of glow with a little bit of heat, but they're not actually fusing elements at their core, which is what would turn them into an actual star. So just wanted to share a little bit there about stellar evolution, since one of the features we can see in our fall skies is the Ring Nebula. Through a decently powered intermediate telescope, you can catch that little bubble-shaped nebula there. One of my favorite deep space objects, because just imagining our solar system with a nebula like the Ring Nebula in 4 billion years would be pretty cool. We've got Emily chiming in the comments saying, very clear here. I don't know if that's talking about the stream quality or the night sky quality, but either one, I think that's a good thing, I suppose. But thanks for saying hello, Emily. Don't forget, everyone else, this is a live stream, so if you have any comments or questions, let us know, and let us know where you're watching from as well. Love to hear from all of you viewers. All right, this may be when we need to put Phoebe away, because, whoop, sorry. Yep, she just flew onto my green screen. I'll be back in 1 second, folks. All right, Phoebe, come here. Time to go. There we go. All right. Everybody at home, give a round of applause to Phoebe for surviving the live stream so long. That's got to be a new record. All right. So we're going to continue on with our star tour here. We already mentioned Venus there, setting in the southwest. Let's move on farther south, where you'll find another pair of planets, actually. We've got Jupiter and Saturn right here. Now, they all line up, you might notice. Planets always appear along this pathway. We call it the ecliptic, and I think I can turn that on. There we... Nope, that's not it. Oh, there we go. That's the ecliptic. So all the planets fall along this line here we call the ecliptic. It represents the plane of our solar system, so all the planets orbit along the same axis, along the same plane, kind of like a big frisbee. And so the planets all line up nicely in our night sky like this. Now, Jupiter and Saturn appear pretty close together. I suppose I should label these here. So that is Jupiter, and that is Saturn. Jupiter's the brighter one. They were even closer about a year ago. In fact, they passed right by one another on December 21st of last year. We call that the Great Conjunction. It happens about once every 20 years when Jupiter and Saturn pass by one another. But now they're getting further apart as time goes on. If you want to learn more about Jupiter and Saturn, we did live streams about them, and you can find recordings on youtube.com/kcplanetarium. Jupiter we did in June of last year, and Saturn was July of last year. Really good, really fun streams. I'd recommend checking out if you want to learn more about those planets. So we are also visiting Saturn in our live star tour this season. So if you come to the planetarium in person and see one of our shows, you can see these planets up close and in 3D. We actually fly to them. I wanted to share a constellation that's over in the south right now. It's called Sagittarius the Centaur. And you can find it by looking for a teapot shape right around here. You might be able to see that. Here is the teapot's handle. Here is the lid. And here is the spout. Now, this teapot, like I said, is part of Sagittarius. Oops, there we go. Sagittarius was a centaur that was sent down by the Greek gods to help the Argonauts on their quest for the Golden Fleece. And the teapot here, now let's hide it again. The teapot's pointy spout is pointing towards the Milky Way galaxy, which you can also see stretching up from our night sky from the southwest here. So that's one way to help you find the Milky Way if you're having trouble seeing it. I will say, though, in the winter and spring, it's very difficult to see the Milky Way because in the winter and spring, the early evening faces away from the center of the galaxy where it's less bright. In fact, if I zoom way out here, you can see the Milky Way looks much brighter in one direction than it does in the other. And that direction is setting right now. So unfortunately, the Milky Way is going to be harder to spot these days. All right, we got a couple people chiming in the comments. Emily was specifying that the Virginia night is clear, and your video. LOL. All right, well, I'm glad to hear both of those, Emily. I'm glad you've got access to a beautiful and clear night sky. That's excellent. Gino says clear weather for them as well, full of stars. That's amazing. Love to hear it. And again, thanks so much for watching. All right, Meredith says, hello from Overland Park. Thanks for tuning in, Meredith. Hope you're enjoying the stream. And Linda says, hello, Patrick and everyone from Belton, Missouri. Linda, thanks so much for watching, and hello to everyone in Belton as well. Nicole is saying hello from Biloxi, Mississippi. 6th grade science teacher. Nicole, that's awesome. So glad to have you join us, and thank you so much for your service and your very important job that you do. And Nicole says, do you have an educational website that I can use to educate my 6th graders and when we go over space and Earth in the let's see, coming up in the fourth 9 weeks. Fourth quarter, I'm guessing you're talking about. Like I said, the youtube.com/KC Planetarium has all of our past live streams, and I've grouped them into categories so that can kind of help you organize them if you did want to pull any content from them. It's on my to-do list to edit them down because there's a bit of time when I talk to people making comments in those videos, of course, and go over some space news. But if you had time to kind of go through those and look at some of the content that's covered on them, then you can sort of cut and paste yourself there. But I would also say that NASA has a lot of great resources. I'm guessing, let's see, NASA's education website is nasa.gov/education. There you go, I should have guessed that. So if you go to nasa.gov/education or /STEM, there's a lot of resources that you can use for your students at home. So again, thanks for watching, Nicole. Appreciate you. And Amanda says, very cool, thank you. A little one is too young to visit an observatory yet, but this is great. Watching from northern Arizona, excellent. Well, no one's too young to start looking at the night sky, but someday when they get older, they can check out an observatory or a planetarium. But thanks for watching, Amanda. All right, everyone. So, continuing on, 6:20, we are going to wrap up our evening star tour. There's one little thing I wanted to point out, though, that's rising in the east a little bit later in the evening, so I'm going to keep fast forwarding. The winter skies, although they're the coldest, they are my favorite for stargazing. And, excuse me. And one of the beautiful sights you can see in the winter is rising a little bit later tonight around 9 o'clock, and that is the Pleiades star cluster, or the Seven Sisters. So 7 bright stars visible to the naked eye are actually part of a cluster of about 2,000 stars. These stars are all bound together by gravity, and they're also siblings. They were all born together from the same nebula. You can see the leftovers of that nebula reflecting their young blue light. But the Pleiades cluster is a beautiful star cluster visible to the naked eye, and one of my favorite sights to check out through binoculars or a telescope. And then I'll just give you a little tease for next month, because some of the best constellations are rising, and that is Taurus the Bull, this bright V pattern there, and of course Orion the Hunter, the brightest constellation, and the constellation that contains my favorite deep space object, the Orion Nebula, which I'm going to tease for next time. Be sure to tune in next month, and that will be the first Monday of December, December 6th, it looks like, where we will be taking a look at our December night skies. But for now, we're going to transition to our current events update. So keep watching, everybody, if you want to learn about cool astronomy and space exploration news that's happened over the past month. And keep the comments coming. I'm really loving the engagement tonight. Thanks, everyone, for giving shout-outs and letting us know where you're watching from. Nicole says, awesome. Yes, please. That would be great. I will do that. It'll be great for a passage reading on current space info. Absolutely, Nicole. Well, I'm glad we can help with that. Hopefully there's some good resources in there to help you and your students. There's some fun live streams we did, sort of goofy ones too, covering some fun, like, fictional topics, and that may be fun to check out as well. Laura says, what times are the shows at Union Station on weekends? And we're going to paste that info into the comments section and answer your question, Laura, but I'll just give you a verbal answer as well. Shows start at 11 a.m. On weekdays and Saturday, and 12 p.m. 12 p.m. noon on Sundays, and we have shows on the hour, the last show at 4 o'clock, and different shows every hour. It's like a movie theater, different shows at different show times, so check unionstation.org for our full schedule, and again, we'll post that for you in the comment section. Thanks, Laura. All right, so let's get going here with our astronomy news updates. All right, so we are going to start with Earth and orbit, and we are going to jump into a segment that I'm just going to be calling Webb Watch, which is our checking out updates on the James Webb Space Telescope, because we've been following along with this developing story as they've delayed this telescope launch for what feels like decades. So let's jump over to a news update here. Oops. All right. Let's go back. Okay, that didn't work. Awesome. Thank you, Google Chrome. All right. There we go. Here we go. All right. So we've covered last month that the scheduled launch of the James Webb Space Telescope is still scheduled for December 18th, and that has not changed. Although that was pushed back. It was supposed to launch around Halloween, actually. But it is still on schedule, and you can see earlier this month the telescope arrived at its launch site in French Guiana. I'm hoping I pronounced that right. There you go. I always joke that my knowledge of the Earth, well, of pretty much anything, I guess, science and geography, starts at the upper atmosphere and goes up. I don't really know much about anything below that, so apologies to the residents of that place. But anyway, the telescope arrived there. This $10 billion James Webb Observatory was delivered to South America by ship, and engineers at Europe's Kourou spaceport will be spending the coming weeks undertaking a series of final checks before mating the new telescope to its rocket. So that will be happening soon. Here it is before they packed it up. And this telescope is the successor to the Hubble Space Telescope, and it's going to be peering deep into the far reaches of our universe and back in time, looking all the way back to the Big Bang. So fingers crossed for December 18th. By the way, if you want to learn more about space telescopes, including James Webb, I did a whole live stream about that back in October of last year, October 5th. Again, youtube.com/KC Planetarium for all of our past streams. All right, we also have James Marsh saying howdy from Jamie. Well, thanks, Jamie, for tuning in. Hope you're enjoying tonight's stream, and just in case she's watching as well, hello, Granny. Hope you're enjoying the stream as well. All right, so let's continue on. Oh, there was supposed to be a SpaceX launch yesterday, but that was delayed to Wednesday. That's going to be Crew 3, the third official crewed mission aboard the Dragon capsule. But in related news, this is you can file this under reasons not to sell your Tesla stock quite yet to buy a ticket to outer space because they're having issues with the toilet aboard this Dragon capsule. There is a leak in it that affected the Inspiration 4 crew, which was the first all-civilian crew to go to space. So the Dragon capsule that took one of the crews to the International Space Station back in April, which has been just sitting at the International Space Station for a while, is going to be taking those astronauts back to Earth. But because the toilet has been having issues, those astronauts are going to have to wear backup undergarments or space diapers as they come back to Earth. So, yeah, I'm excited to go to space someday, but I'll wait till they fix the space toilets. There is that Crew 3 mission that's launching on Wednesday is aboard a different capsule that they did fix this problem, so hopefully this won't be an issue in the future, but kind of gross. The leak happened that basically it was leaking toilet juices into the floorboards of the spaceship, which is probably not very fun. So hold off on buying tickets to space quite yet. All right. Continuing on with space travel news. Unfortunately, the Boeing Starliner capsule is probably not going to be going into space until 2022. Here's an update from NASA and the Commercial Crew Program. Basically, the long and short of it is that because of some issues that we tracked a few months ago in this capsule, they are delaying its launch until next year, and this is just going to be a test launch without any crew. So they are quite a ways out. It looks like SpaceX is going to be the official taxis of NASA for the time being until Boeing can get their act together. All right, speaking of going into space, though, and to reference the question asked by Eric earlier, Captain Kirk himself just got to space. And here is a video of the crew. This was aboard Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin rocket, and this was on October 13th. And William Shatner, who played Captain Kirk in the first Star Trek, the original series, now is the oldest person to ever go to space at 90 years old. There is Kirk right there. William Shatner, I suppose. And William Shatner said when he got back to Earth, quote, "I hope I never recover from this," which I think is a great quote about going to space. But there he is, a person who, an actor who played a future astronaut, now getting to actually go to space himself. Very, very cool. I don't think they had any issues with their space toilet. All right, and here's a little fun bit of news or an anniversary. A few days ago, on October 24th, we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the first image of Earth ever taken from space. So this was taken on October 24th, 1946, captured aboard a German V-2 rocket, which launched from White Sands Missile Range, carrying a 35mm motion picture camera. It reached an altitude of 65 miles, and this famous photograph was the first image of our planet ever taken from outer space 75 years ago. It's crazy to think how far we've come in just 75 years from taking just a blurry black and white photo of space. Pretty cool. Let's check in on the comment section. Gino says, "Oh, when the tickets are cheap, about 100 euros, then Gino will go. Now it's a bit too expensive." Yes, I think it's a bit too expensive, and it might be a little while before tickets are that cheap, because I think airplane tickets are even more expensive than that. In fact, train tickets are more expensive than that here in the States. But wishful thinking for sure, Gino, and when tickets are that cheap, I will be right next to you on that trip to space for sure. Meredith says they need Howard Wolowitz to go fix the space toilets. Ah, yes, from The Big Bang Theory. I forget that character went to space as well. I didn't see those episodes, though. Did they have issues with their space toilets? That does seem like comedy gold for sure. Gregory says, good thing none of them had red shirts on. Yes, referencing Captain Kirk going to space. Yes, that would have been in poor taste if they had worn red shirts. Although well, I'm blanking on his name. If Jean-Luc Picard ever goes to space, Patrick Stewart, then he can wear a red suit because of the Next Generation red suits designated Starfleet officers. So there's your nerdy bit of Star Trek news or Star Trek facts for you. All right, we've got about 13 minutes before we're going to cut things off to let everybody get to the Chiefs game. So we're going to jump on over to solar system news. And this was in the news very recently, just a couple days ago. NOAA and NASA and the Space Weather Prediction Center announced an X-class solar flare that hit the Earth. You can see it hit primarily in the southern hemisphere, but it did affect northern latitudes as well. Now, an X-class solar flare is one of the most powerful of its kind. Here is information about that. This is an image showing that solar flare and the coronal mass ejection that came with it. The little animation there. Again, this happened a couple days ago on Thursday. And this shows you the different classifications of solar flares. An X-class is the most intense, and this can cause damage to satellites, communication systems, power distribution stations, and electronic equipment. No major casualties that I've heard of were seen from this, but it does cause a lot of northern lights, or aurora borealis. So you may have seen people posting on the internet some amazing pictures of the northern lights. I think I may have a couple of them. This photograph was taken in northern Scotland of the northern lights. They're not always green, by the way. You'll see famous green curtain pictures of the aurora borealis, but some red ones are also common as well. Oh, and then the NASA astronomy picture of the day the other day was pretty beautiful. This is a 180-degree panorama that is mirrored to look sort of like a Rorschach test. Almost looks like a dragon there, but pretty amazing photograph nonetheless. So let us know in the comments if any of you saw any northern lights over the weekend, some Halloween northern lights. That would have been pretty spectacular. All right. Continuing on, we are going to be wrapping up pretty soon in the next 10 minutes. So if you are still watching and have any questions or comments or would like to give a shout out, we're going to be wrapping up soon. So be sure to put those in the comments before we end. But let's continue on with some space news. So here is a study that was released very recently that is talking about some lunar material that was returned to Earth in December. So this is China's Chang'e 5 mission, which was a mission that collected samples from the moon in December of last year and brought them back to Earth. And scientists have been studying them since then. By the way, we did a live stream about the moon, Earth's moon, that is on November 30th of last year. So check that out at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/KC Planetarium. But scientists have been studying this lunar material, and this study published earlier this month showed that some things we thought about the moon may have been wrong. For example, the samples that we found that were brought back to Earth last December, which are the first new moon rocks that scientists have gotten their hands on since the 1970s, have been found to be about 1 billion years younger than previously dated samples. And this may mean that there was liquid magma on the moon 1 billion years more recently than previously thought, which raises questions about how the moon got hot enough for this rock to melt. So the question we have to answer is, how did the moon retain enough heat for such a long time, i.e. 2.5 billion years after it formed, to enable the melting of this surface material? More data is on the way. We'll be studying these rocks from the Chang'e 5 mission, of course, and NASA's Artemis missions will be studying more moon rocks. Now, since the moon is a benchmark for dating other planetary surfaces, the more of these lunar rocks can tell us, the better we'll understand the age of other worlds in our solar system as well. So pretty cool news about the moon. Gregory is referencing the coronal mass ejection, says, mass ejection, too much chili? Perhaps, Gregory. And Gregory also says that green aurora pic looked like aliens. It did, kind of, didn't it? Linda is asking, is there any asteroid or meteor that you watch very closely? And that's a great question. And that kind of brings us to another news update, a study that was published about disrupting asteroids that are coming to Earth. So Linda's asking if there are any asteroids or meteors that we watch closely. I don't personally watch meteors very closely. I don't have telescope equipment to see them very closely. But of course, scientists are very interested in studying meteors that are coming to Earth, especially ones that might be large enough to cause damage. So the Center for Near-Earth Object Studies at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, they run asteroid impact simulations once every 2 years. They did an exercise earlier this year to test out sort of warning systems, like the police sirens you might be hearing. Sorry about that noise, everyone. Ideally, we'd have years or even decades to respond to an asteroid that we find is on a collision course with Earth. And if we did that, we'd be able to move it using gravity. We could send a probe to kind of pull it along with gravity, or even send something to sort of punch it away, a little impact probe that would nudge it out of the path of the Earth. But in the movies, of course, movies like Armageddon, which we covered during our Hollywood live stream in July of last year, we send nukes to these asteroids to blow them up. And you might think that that is crazy and not accurate at all, but these simulations, which we've got some video from, actually showed that this method of deflecting an asteroid that we discover months out could actually be good enough to break them apart and keep them from hurting life on Earth. So the simulation, they tested on a 100-meter asteroid, or a 328-foot-long asteroid, and they demonstrated the effects of a 1 megaton bomb ignited near the surface. And so this simulation, which is just a simulation, but interesting scientific data nonetheless, shows that this type of deflection technique, which we call a disruption strategy, could be good enough to protect the Earth. So there's good news about that, and gives us something to use all of our nuclear bombs on, I suppose. But of course, ideally, we would track an asteroid much sooner. Also, I did a whole live stream about other surprises from space, like asteroid impacts. That was on August 31st of last year. So check out that live stream, which has more information about what we might do to mitigate a disaster like this. All right, we had a couple other comments. We've got Andrew Grosjean who's chiming into the comment section saying a red star, clearly rooting for the Chiefs. That's right, Andrew. We are holding our breath and crossing our fingers for tonight. Good omen. Maybe there will be a comet passing overhead too, or something like that. Judy's watching and says, thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you so much, Judy, for watching as well. Glad you're tuning in tonight. We've got Gino saying, ow on the moon. Awesome. And Eric says, it's not made of cheese. Last time I checked, probably not. Although maybe there is some cheese on the moon. No, there's no cheese on the moon. There is water on the moon, though. which again, check out our live stream about the moon to learn more about that. Gregory says, is a theory still out there that a planet and Earth collided to form the moon? And Gregory, that is one of the main theories for how the moon was formed. A planet about the size of Mars named Theia crashed into the Earth billions of years ago. And that may explain how the moon came to be. We cover that theory and others during our live stream about the moon. Again, youtube.com/KCPlanetarium. Like and subscribe. And Gino says, it's a big sky lunar attack asteroid installation. All right, so, we are just about to wrap up, and I'm going to cover one last news update, and this is Lucy. So, on October 16th, a few weeks ago, the Lucy asteroid probe launched, and this is cool because I actually saw this probe. In fact, I've got a video here of the probe's launch that I saw from Florida. So I was there in Florida when this rocket launched. So this was very early in the morning before the sun had risen, but the rocket launch lit up the sky, taking the Lucy probe into space. So Lucy is named after the famous Australopithecus fossil. I'm not a paleontologist, clearly. This was a fossil of an early hominid. And the reason they named the probe Lucy is that its mission will revolutionize our knowledge of the planetary origins and the formation of our solar system. So much in the same way the Lucy fossil revolutionized our understanding of the origins of humans, this probe will hopefully revolutionize our understanding of the origins of our solar system. Ooh, mouthful there. So this is NASA's Solar System Exploration website, which has an in-depth look at Lucy. It also shows its current location in our solar system and all sorts of information about its mission, pictures of its launch. But basically, Lucy's primary mission is to study the Trojan asteroids. So it's going to make one pit stop at the asteroid belt, looking at one object there, and then it will visit 7 Trojans. Now, these Trojans are groups of asteroids that are orbiting sort of on either side of Jupiter. They're sort of shepherding Jupiter, or Jupiter's really shepherding them. They're stuck in this sort of gravity well at about 60 degrees away from Jupiter. And these Trojans are the leftovers from the earliest days in our solar system. So by studying these primordial objects, scientists will better understand the processes that deliver organic materials and water to Earth, the basic building blocks of life. So this mission will last over the next decade. It's a very long mission, set to end in 2033. We'll be tracking that mission for quite a ways. Now, one cool thing I wanted to end on here is that, like many probes that we send into space, Lucy carried a plaque with it that contained many messages from very famous people, 20th century thinkers like Einstein and Martin Luther King Jr., Carl Sagan, as well as some contemporary writers. And I wanted to highlight one of the poems, which is by, let's see if I can find it. Yes, Amanda Gorman, who you may remember, who read an original poem during President Biden's inauguration. And the poem that, and you can see the poem there. Yes, so very cool. We've got George Harrison as well, another famous thinker. Ringo Starr, Peace and Love. So anyway, kind of a fun little message to the stars. If you want to learn more about other messages we've sent to the stars, we did a live stream about the Voyager space probes and the Golden Record back in May of last year. Another signal we sent out in space, a message we left to the stars. So feel free to read this plaque on your own time. We don't have time to cover all these quotes during our live stream today. But very cool, nonetheless, these messages we send to the stars. All right, everyone. Well, we are going to have to wrap up the stream tonight so we can make it to the Chiefs game. Look at that. I'm just about right on time, 6:45. How do you like that? And we've got a couple last second comments. Now's your last chance to put the comments Put your comments and shout-outs in the comments section. Gino is saying that they'd love to say, but they're going to sleep. Thank you, Gino. Thanks so much for watching from all the way across the ocean. Jordan says, ready for the James Webb Space Telescope to finally launch. Jordan, I'm so ready, and I'm crossing my fingers because we've been waiting a long time. So let's hope that launch and deployment works well. Gregory says, thanks. Thank you, Gregory, for tuning in tonight. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Elijah says, awesome. Thanks for watching, Elijah. Rhonda says, thank you. I always enjoy your live streams. Thank you, Rhonda. I enjoy your company watching as well. And Gregory says, can Lucy figure out why Zuckerberg had barbecue sauce on his bookshelf? I might be in Facebook jail after this. Gregory, that is a mystery of our universe that even the largest telescopes and deepest space probes will never be able to solve. Gregory is a huge fan of Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. Or, well, maybe Gregory is, or... No, Mark Zuckerberg, I think, is. I'm getting an explanation. Ben, I did hear about this. Thank you, though. I appreciate the context. Otherwise, it would have been very confusing. But anyway, thanks for that last message about barbecue. And that's perfect for Kansas City, although Sweet Baby Ray's, here in Kansas City, we scoff at Sweet Baby Ray's. Although, I don't know, I haven't had Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. It might be good. All right, everyone. Well, that was a lot of rambling here at the end of the stream. If you've watched for this long, thank you so much for watching. If you tuned in late, at the beginning of the stream, we did a star tour of our November skies, so feel free to watch the recording of this. Again, all of our past live streams are on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/KCPlanetarium. I, once again, have been your planetarium manager, Patrick Hess. Come visit us at the Planetarium. Unionstation.org has all of our schedule there. Thank you again to our supporting sponsor, MRI Global. And a couple last-second comments. Elijah says, hope I can catch you again. Love everything space. Moon lover over here. I love the moon as well. Kelly says, just a thank you from our family. Thank you, Kelly and Kelly's family. Thanks for watching. Meredith says, go Chiefs! I agree. We're going to get a win tonight. I can feel it. And Gino says, good night, everyone. Greetings from Belgium. Thanks again, Gino, for watching all the way over from Belgium. Hope you enjoyed the stream. And tune in next month on the 6th of December, the first Monday of the month, where we will be covering that month's night sky, as well as news updates from the next month. And Gregory says, thanks, buddy. Thank you, Gregory, for watching. Eric says, great show. Thanks, Eric, for tuning in yet again. And we'll see you all next month for our next live stream. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night. Bye-bye.